Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Beth Maranzini, and we are delighted to have you join us today. Today's webinar, Building Wealth with Purpose, Part 1. This section is formatted a little bit different than our usual Entre Amigas webinar, as we will be taking a deep dive into the important topic of wealth building. We are fortunate to have a distinguished presenter, Jennifer Guzman, who will lead us through an insightful discussion focused on understanding what wealth building truly means. Through this section, we will not only define the key principles of wealth building, but we also explore how to create a thoughtful and intentional plan that aligns with long-term financial goals and share actionable steps you can take to start building wealth effectively, providing you with the tools and strategy to take immediate action. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Goya, for sponsoring our March Entre Amigas webinar. We greatly appreciate their support, which allow us to bring these valuable conversations to you. And we are excited about the opportunity to learn, grow, and engage with all of you today. And we hope you leave with new insights, clarity on how to build wealth with purpose, and a clear plan to take the next steps towards financial success. So get a paper and pen, and please make sure to take a lot of notes because this is really, truly important for your financial wealth. I am going to move us forward to introduce our speaker, Jennifer Guzman. Jennifer is a remarkable first-generation financial consultant who has truly made her mark in both the industry and her community. Recognized by Success Magazine as a trailblazing Latina, Jennifer has earned recognition for her outstanding contribution and influence. Born and raised in the Dominican Republic like me, Jennifer's unique background is science, education, and finance has equipped her with the tools to succeed as a coach, a strategist, educator, philanthropist, I love that, and best-selling author. She is the founder and CEO of both Bright Tax Corp and Unique Look LLC, and also serve as a full-time research and coordinator at Columbia University. Jennifer's commitment to the women's advocacy and empowerment is evident in her role as a board member and committee chair for the Inspírame Latina Foundation, where she worked tirelessly to support and uplift women in our community, which aligns perfectly with the mission of Entre Amigas Prospanica National. We're so fortunate to have her with us today, and we know you'll gain invaluable insights from her expertise and inspiring journey. Please help me welcome her. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Beth, for such a warming introduction. It is honestly a pleasure for me to be here tonight. It's an honor as well. And I'm really, really excited that tonight we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is about finances and women, right? So today's topic is wealth building for women, part 1. Before we get started, I want to share a little disclaimer. This course and the information that I'm going to share tonight does not serve as financial advice. It is only for educational purposes. And if you need personalized guidance suited to your situation, make sure that you consult a financial advisor. Some house rules that I want to share is if you want to get the best results out of the information I am going to share, Well, I want you to have a writing pad, so pen and pencil and paper, so that you take notes. Make sure that you are sitting down in a place where you're not distracted, because I really would like for you to pay attention to the information here that I'm sharing tonight. Put your phones in silence if you can, and keep your mind open so that you actually work through the exercises that I am going to share in the information as well. So just before I get started, Beth shared some things about me, but I want to share a little bit more about my story. I was born and raised for most of my early childhood in the Dominican Republic. I come from very humble beginnings. My parents and grandparents come from El Campo, so very little resources. They didn't have the possibility to go to school, get an education. They had to work the land to actually feed themselves and sustain their family. Um, but later on in their life, after my mom and my dad got married and they had me, they took a leap of faith and they came to the United States and they brought me here. So I immigrated here between the ages of 9 and 10. And for me, it was a shocking thing to go through at such a young age. You know, I had to learn a new language. It was a new culture, new surroundings. Again, I come from very humble beginnings. There wasn't much of what I saw in New York City. So I had to adjust to all of that. But also, I had to live with 9 of my siblings. I'm one in 9 children that my father had. So that was also something different to go through. And I remember for most of my early life, childhood, and teenage years, we were struggling a lot financially. And that's something that worried me a lot, because I always wanted to be able to provide and help my family. And I always remember seeing my father work 7 days a week, and I would barely see him, right? And my mother would make sacrifices to also help my father financially. So it was a lot of, a lot of struggle that we went through. But one thing that, that pushed me to do was wanting to go to college so that I could help my parents and help myself, so that I could do better for myself. So I am a first gen college graduate. I went to school. I initially pursued a career in science. I was a researcher. I almost got a PhD in that career. But things changed for me. Things changed for me after motherhood knocked on my door. And that was a beautiful experience, but it also brought a lot of pain with it. Because after I had my kid, I went through a very toxic and domestic relationship with domestic violence. And I also went through a mental health crisis and postpartum depression. Even though I went through those seasons, dark seasons that a lot of us come across, it made me pivot in my life. It brought me clarity, but it brought me purpose. And I became a single parent, and I'm now the provider of my house. But that pushed me to do a career transition into finance. I went back to school and I got a master's, and I decided to also start my own business. So I am a first gen business owner as well, and I wanted to use my journey and my story to empower other single mothers out there and other first gen business owners, to make them see that it is possible, that it can be done, right? We only need the community. We need the leaders that are willing to hold our hand in this journey. So I am honestly advocate for women empowerment and financial independence, and I love teaching about this topic. So now that I share a little bit more about that, our agenda for tonight is the following. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of mindset and vision. Then I'm going to walk you through about how important it is to do a self-assessment around your finances. Then how, from that self-assessment, you can create a financial plan for you, while also educating yourself along the way. And lastly, I want to talk about the most important things about our personal finance, the practical aspects of it, right? So it's budgeting, savings, debt, and a little bit more. Before I move into the next slide, there is a free workbook that you can have access to. It's completely free for you. You can use it as a tool as we will go through this presentation. And also, I really want you to sit down with this workbook at your own time and go through it and complete it so that you can make the best out of all the information I'm sharing. So I'm going to sit here for at least five more seconds so that you can scan that QR code. It's going to take you directly to that workbook. And again, it's completely free for you to use. Okay, I hope everybody was able to scan that. Let me go to the next slide. So why is financial literacy so important, right? The fact is you can't fix what you can't understand, right? So it's very important to educate yourself when it comes to your personal finances. So financial literacy is basically your ability to understand and effectively use the financial skills that you can develop along this wealth building journey for you. Right? So why is it important, right? When it comes to money, you need to understand what it is, how it works, and how you can make it work for yourself, right? When you understand all of those aspects, you will make better choices around your money. I want you to know that when we say, oh, I'm a financially struggle, a lot of times it's not because we lack the income. A lot of us actually have maybe a good income coming in every month. It's not the money, because money is a tool. It's because we have a lack of the knowledge. So I want you to really understand how important educating yourself around finances is, continuously doing so. Financially literate people actually they build wealth over time. So this is not something that can happen overnight. This is not something you're trying to sprint. It's actually a marathon. It's little by little. And the way that they do this is that they educate themselves continuously so that they can create opportunities for themselves, and they prepare for these opportunities. So that means you need to be prepared for all of it, right? And as you educate yourself, you're going to see how independent you're becoming and how these two things are important. How educating yourself is going to reduce stress and anxiety, which these feelings are very common around finances. And I'm pretty sure at some point in your life, you either feel stress around finances or you feel anxiety. I want to ask you something. How many of you have felt overwhelmed when thinking about your finances? And I want to be transparent because I want to connect here with whoever is here right now. I still, till this day, feel overwhelmed sometimes around my finances. This is something that is going to happen, right? Because sometimes we can't prevent it. It's because the news are saying this and it's saying that, and it's like sometimes we go crazy. But I want to tell you that there's tools and there's mechanisms and there's plans that you can put in place so that you don't let the feeling of feeling overwhelmed stop you and prevent you from moving forward in your journey. Okay. So when it comes to dealing with the feeling of overwhelmed and dealing with our finances and how is it that we're going to start this wealth building journey, we have to know that we need to build a strong financial foundation, right? Because I'll tell you something. When you're building a house, maybe let's imagine that you're building your dream house. You're not going to build that house without building a strong foundation, because you know if something happens, an earthquake, something happens, whatever can happen, the house is going to collapse. The same thing applies to your finances. Many of us want to jump ahead to, well, I just want to build wealth, but we forget about how important the foundation is, right? And we jump ahead to things we're not ready to manage. And that's when we come across disappointment and you start thinking and telling yourself, well, I'm not made for this. This is not for me. That's not true. All of us deserve to build wealth and we have the skills to do it. We just have to take the right steps in order. So when we're thinking about the steps that we have to take, these are the things that I want you to focus on. Take a picture of this, paste it on your wall. It's the 5 financial pillars that I want you to always go back to. I want you to know that the first thing and the most important thing in this journey is working constantly on your mindset and sitting down and making sure you have a clear starting point for your finances. You need to know where you are right now in order for you to go and take the next step forward. Then I want you to know how important it is for you to know how to budget and how to manage your cash flow. Then next, we're going to be working on creating putting a savings account together, and then managing and paying off our debt. Then next, we're going to focus on financial reputation. That's around your borrowing power and your credit profile. Then lastly, we're going to take steps into investing strategically based on the way that we want to build wealth and we can preserve that, right? Because it's not only about building wealth, it's about preserving it as well. Now, when it comes to building a strong financial foundation, the key skill that you want to actually focus on and work on constantly, it doesn't matter where you are in your journey, is financial management, right? Financial management means knowing how to handle your money effectively and smart so that the money is actually working for you instead of working against you. So when you actually sit down and you are patient enough to work on the importance of the skill of financial management, you're going to be able to control your money instead of feeling like it controls you. And this is something that a lot of us go through. You limit yourself based on your income. And that is how you know that your money is controlling you, right? You only do things to the extent that you think your money is allowing you. But it's because we are not working on the skill of financial management. You constantly feel stress or uncertain. It's because you're not working and you're prioritizing financial management. When you are prioritizing financial management, you can make better informed decisions about how you're saving, how you're spending, how you're investing, and you're more prepared when it comes to anything that's expected and unexpected around expenses. So that's why to build a strong foundation, financial management is the key. So before we move into the rest of the topics for tonight, I want you to sit down wherever you are right now. I want you to close your eyes and do this mindset reset exercise with me. I want you to close your eyes, place both of your hands in your chest, and take a deep breath. And if you can say these things out loud after me, I want you to say it. Yes, I am angry because I haven't learned none of this information before, and I think it's late. But the only thing that I am certain of is that I can only move forward. I don't have to sit and limit myself on the things that I didn't know before. Instead of sitting on a place of shame, I'm going to continuously give myself grace because I know that I have made the best choices with the knowledge that I had. Instead of struggling to believe that I am worthy of having that I am not worthy of having a lot of money, I want to say that I am worthy of money. I am worthy of money just as anybody else. And lastly, I want you to know that nothing bad is going to happen if you don't hit a financial goal. Don't be hard on yourself. Because what matters the most is that you're still making progress, is that one extra step that you continue to take. Now, after we finish tonight's presentation and for the rest of this week or the month, I want you to always keep this in your head. The cost of waiting is higher than the cost of action. How many of us had sat down on information that we learned? A lot of us are actually pretty much familiar with the information that I'm going to share tonight, but we think we need to have more time. We think we need to learn more. We think we need to make an extra $100 every week to be able to sit down and start acting on our finances and getting things together and creating a plan. But know that that is costing you so much. It's costing you your dream life. It's costing you living the life that you have always envisioned. And it's probably impacting your children and your happiness and your mental health, right? Know that reaching your financial goals is going to happen only as a result of the small action steps that you take every day. And I always want you to remember, it's about progress. It's about progress. So how is it that you're going to start taking those little steps? Well, it's going to be with a self-assessment. And why is a self-assessment so important? Well, a self-assessment is going to help you identify your starting point with your finances. You need to know where you are right now. You really need to know. You need a clear picture. Your starting point is going to give you clarity, it's going to give you focus, and it's going to give you a point of reset. In life, we reset a lot depending on how things are working or not working. That's why you need to self-assess where you are right now. It's going to help you highlight your current money habits so that you can change it, because a lot of us have a lot of bad habits around money and a very poor mindset, but because some of that was inherited and we have not worked on fixing that. It's going to help you how you're setting your goals, and it's going to help you create self-awareness, which is very important, which is my next slide. Self-assessment. Doing a self-assessment is going to give you two of the key things you need along your wealth building journey. These two key things, which are self-awareness and control, are key to your journey, right? So, and how you build that is through constantly doing a self-assessment. Because again, it's not that we don't know this information. We have seen it maybe 100 times, for the 1,000th time maybe this year already, but we keep avoiding it. We keep taking action. How often should you be assessing your finances? Honestly, and I personally, I do that every quarter. Like, we're coming to the end of Q1. By the end of this month, I'm sitting down and assessing my finances. But again, you should just do things as whatever comes natural to you, whatever you think best fits your situation. You could do it biannually or annually. And if there's any major life changes, like maybe income adjustments, you got married or divorced, you relocated, you bought a home or a car, maybe when any of these things happen, you should sit down and do a self-assessment for your finances. So what is a self-assessment going to do? It's going to help you paint the full picture of your finances. Again, this is where I want you to go back to that workbook. I did my best to give a step-by-step process on how to do this, right? You're going to start by understanding your income. I want you to list all of your income sources for every month and the amounts. I want you to sit down and analyze your current monthly expenses, what's fixed, what's variable. And while you are analyzing and looking at the monthly expenses for you, I want you to also start working on and building that self-awareness muscle in you. Like, what spending patterns are you noticing as you are doing a self-assessment, as you're analyzing your expenses? I also want you to go and review your current monthly budget if you have one. You should have one. If you don't, it's okay. That's why this class is important, right? It's going to help you how to build a budget. And when you're looking at that budget, I want you to also start creating more awareness on how you're allocating your money. Are you spending more money on and allocating more money towards your wants versus your needs? I also want you to sit down and review your debt. And lastly, I want you to calculate your net worth. Again, I walk you on how to do this step by step on the free workbook that was provided for this workshop tonight. So how is it that you're going to be reviewing your debt? Debt is very important. And later on, I'm going to be talking a little bit more in detail on this. But when you are assessing your debt, I want you to look at all the balances, credit cards, loans. Look at the interest rates that they're currently charging you. What minimum monthly payments are you making? If you had set a payoff timeline, are you on track or are you off track? If you're using a strategy to pay off that debt, is it working right now or is not working? Because that means things need to change. You need to reset, right? And lastly, I walk you through on how to do how to calculate your debt to income ratio. And this is important for you to know because it's about the debt to income ratio matters when you're building your financial credibility. Next is credit report and monitoring. So as consumers, we are entitled to obtain a free copy of your credit report every year from all the credit bureaus. And the way that you do that is that you go to this website called annualcreditreport.com, and you can actually just fill out the information and it will give you a digital copy or they will mail it to your house. Make sure that you do that every year as part of your self-assessment routine with your finances. I want you to sit down and look at if there's any errors or fraudulent activity or anything that's inaccurate that's been reported there that might be affecting you. because again, as consumers, you are also entitled to dispute that with the bureaus, and they should be removing it if they cannot verify that it is true. Also, you should be monitoring your credit on a regular basis, and these are some of the trusted websites that I recommend. Some of them offer a free subscription, some of them paid. Again, you do whatever best fits your current situation. Next is the importance of knowing your credit score, right? You should aim to have a credit score between a 90, a 50. Anything below that needs improvement. You need to sit down and look at why is your credit below a 690, because a credit score is important when it comes to building your financial credibility and your borrowing power. And there's different factors that affect your credit score. These are the top 3 that I always tell people they should pay attention to, but mostly credit utilization. Why? Because a lot of us are not spending money intentionally when it comes to even a credit card. I remember early in my journey, I used to max out my credit cards. If you have $1,000 credit card, you should not be using more than 20%, because if you use more than 20%, it's going to affect the credit utilization, and your credit score could even decrease to 100 points, 200 points, depending on how much you're using. So again, this is about discipline, and also making sure that you're constantly monitoring your credit and building discipline around how you're spending money. Next is, how can you protect yourself as a consumer? As a consumer, you want to make sure that you put things in place so that you're not being affected by how the world is advancing. So one thing you could do or implement is putting fraud alerts in your credit profile, or actually requesting for a credit freeze, or you can call each credit bureau to actually tell them, I want to protect myself. What are things that I can put in place? This is something that I really advise people to implement. Excuse me. Now that you have done a self-assessment, right, which is everything I previously went through, again, it's on the workbook. After you have the self-assessment, now you have a clear picture of your finances, of where you are right now, your starting point. Now I want you to take that, and we're going to create a mini financial plan for your finances. And why is it important? It's important because it's going to give you clarity and focus. It's going to give you peace of mind. It's going to help you get prepared for anything. And at the end of the day, I know you heard this saying that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you're planning to build wealth, whatever it means to you, you must have a written plan. You must write it down, right? So how is it that we are going to build this plan? There's different steps. So these are the 5 major things I would like you to include in any type of financial plan that you build for yourself. We're going to be including your goals and your vision. We're going to be creating a budget, including an emergency fund, how you're paying and managing debt, and how you're securing yourself in case anything happens. Oops. The first thing is, we need to identify our money values, right? So what are money values? Money values are beliefs and principles that shape your relationship with money. They represent the why when it comes to the decisions that you make around your finances. So why is it that you're saving? Why is it that you're investing? Why is it that you decide to do certain things instead of others, right? I want you to really get in touch with what values you're standing by when it comes to your money. And it's important because it's going to help you make better decisions. You're going to be more intentional on how you're making decisions. And then when you set goals, the goal should be aligned with the money values that you have. Some examples of money values, it's freedom. Is it because you care about freedom? Is it because you care about creating experiences, or you care about creating impact in your community? Is it because you want to create a sense of security for yourself and your children? Right? I also want to bring up here is that I want you to identify your financial non-negotiables. This is very important for me. For instance, I live by this. Financial non-negotiables can be values. It can be priorities that you have. It can be boundaries, things that you are unwilling to compromise no matter what. And a personal example that I can share right now is that whenever I get paid, there's 20% of my income that it's automatically taken into 2 different savings accounts, a saving account for myself and a saving account for my son. Those first two things must happen first before I do anything else with my finances, before I touch that money for anything else. So those are things I'm willing to compromise. And it's important to do that and to identify those things if you want to make sure that you set intentional goals that are in alignment with what you want to build in this journey. So after you have that, then we want to make sure that we create our goals. We identify our goals. There are short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. You should have all three. And I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the SMART acronym, and I want you to use that when you are setting goals, right? I'll share a personal example for this year. I have a goal of taking my family on a vacation this summer. So one of the goals, short-term goals that I set, and how I explicitly wrote it down is like, by July 7th, I will save an additional $5,000 by saving $250 every week, right? So I already know when is my deadline. Like, when is my deadline to achieve this goal? What are the action steps I need to save $250 every week if I want to actually get to that step to hit that goal. So I have that written, and I make sure that I go back all the time and review it. The next thing that we're going to do is that we need to take control of our money. We need to, if we don't tell our money where to go, we will always wonder where it went. And that's how we lose sense of control, right? And how is it that we're going to do that? Well, we're going to implement a budget. A budget is a plan and a roadmap on how you manage your money. It's important because, remember earlier on, I talked about how self-awareness and control are so important in this journey. When you have a budget, you have control over your finances. You're not like in this limbo, just living by the paycheck that's coming in, because you don't know where you stand. It gives you clarity, it gives you awareness. And I think the most important thing as well is corrective action. When you have a budget and you think you'll overspend on wants, you sit down and you review that budget. You can fix things around, right? You can change certain things around quicker instead of waiting for 3 months later. Now you are in more debt because you were not intentional about building this roadmap for your finances. There's different budgeting methods that exist out there. I honestly suggest that you explore all of them if you want. If you have something right now that is working for you, then perfect. I always say don't marry anything because in your wealth building journey, things are going to change. Nothing is always going to stay the same. So make sure that whatever budgeting method that you choose, it aligns with your values, with your non-negotiables, and your goals. Everything should be in alignment here. Some of the most known budgeting methods I listed here is the 50-30-20 rule, where 50% of your income is allocated towards your needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% towards your savings and your debt repayment. Then there's other methods here that I didn't give into detail, but you can also do your own research. So once you choose your budgeting method, I want you to start building your budget. Now, I want you to remember, a budget is a tool, not a restriction. A lot of people run away from budgeting because they think they're just being restricted. And what I want you to really remember here is that a budget is for you to stay focused. It's for you to have control. It's about you making progress. I'm not telling you create a budget and create a drastic change around how you're managing your finances currently. It's about making one step today and another one forward tomorrow. Right. So now that we know we have our financial goals, we know our income, we have tracked our expenses, we need to categorize our expenses towards wants and needs. And what I want you to do when you're budgeting and as you're progressing in this journey is I want you to be intentional on the amount that you are allocating towards those categories. Start allocating a little bit more towards your needs than your wants. Make little changes. And again, I'm not telling you to do nothing drastic. Something that I tell people, for instance, nowadays it's very common to go out on brunch on Sundays with the girls, right? So instead of doing that every Sunday, let's say that you skip one Sunday this month. The next month, we're skipping 2 Sundays, and so on and so on. And the way that you do that, the money that you were paying and wasting by going on brunch, to brunch every Sunday. Now you're using that money and allocating towards something that really is helping you in your wealth building journey and is taking you closer to those goals. Then lastly, the most important thing, I want you to constantly monitor and adjust your budget. Because if you create a budget and you never go back and revise it and adjust it and monitor how things are going, then guess what? You cannot change anything. You cannot create a corrective action and fix things that are not working. And again, you don't have the clarity to do so because you're not going back and monitoring it. I want you to also, something to implement is automating your finances. A lot of us forget to do things. As a single mom myself, I have a lot of things going on. I can easily forget to do things. And one thing that I don't want to have the excuse is that I'm not taking care of my finances because I'm a busy single mom, right? So I have automated my finances in the following way. I have different bank accounts. This is just a nest scenario, but I have different accounts and I have automated my finances. There's an account where only my income is deposited. Then I have another account where only my expenses are paid for. I have an emergency savings account that I have a savings account for me to go on vacation. And I have another account where I save money for self-care because for me, self-care has become very important. Right. So start automating your finances. Set a date. I know in banks nowadays, you can go and set a specific amount on a specific date of the month for however many months you want to do that transfer, and it will automatically do so. So start like maybe just doing that. Again, you don't have to do a drastic change. Implement one thing now and see how it works. If it doesn't, then readjust and do things that align with you. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an emergency fund. An emergency is very important because it's our safety net, right? It gives us a sense of stability, it reduces stress, and it definitely will prevent us from going into more debt. I know you heard the statistics that more than most Americans don't have $1,000 saved, right? So I don't want you to be that person. You should be saving, if you're employed, if you have an employer, you should be saving between 3 to 6 months. But if you are self-employed, I definitely suggest that you save between 6 to 12 months. And there's a reason behind. I don't know that I have much time to go into detail, but I will try to quickly share here. So how is it that you're going to determine what the emergency fund is covering? Well, the emergency fund should cover your necessities, right? So basic living expenses. So you want to make sure that you're definitely paying, you're keeping a roof over your head, you're paying for your mortgage or for your rent. If you have to be paying for insurance or medical, any medical costs every month, you want to make sure that you're saving money for that as well in case of anything unexpected happens. Covering for transportation, covering for childcare and anything essential for the family, food, the utility bills. And then if you have any debt, at least you want to have a few months of a minimum payment debt for those things, because you also don't want to start affecting your credit score if you start falling behind in payments, right? So I want you to always keep that in mind when you're building that emergency fund. So how is it that you're going to start this emergency fund? I don't want you to go and think that you have to save $10,000 in the next month. That's actually not realistic, and it's going to put a lot of stress on you. I want you to start small. If you can only save $50 today this month, so you can only save $50, and I want you to give yourself grace for that, right? If next month you can allocate more money toward that savings, then do so, right? I want you to save your money for the emergency account in a high yield saving account. Why? Because it's actually going to earn more money than any other regular type of saving account. I want you to, again, automate it so that you forget about it and it happens. It just happens by itself. I want you to be intentional on how you can cut spending money on things that are not aligning with your goals and your values, and relocating that money toward those savings accounts. Do not commingle. That means that you should definitely have a separate saving account from your income account and your expenses account. So you want to only have an account designated towards emergency savings. And the last thing is, if there's any unexpected income coming in, then instead of wasting that money, put it towards your savings, towards your emergency savings. Like, we're in a tax season right now, so why not use any refund that you might be getting to start funding that emergency account? I want you to go over this briefly. So, understanding the debt landscape. Right now, there's so much debt out there, right? In the third quarter of 2024, the national credit card balance was around $7,236. Our Gen Z individuals have an average personal debt of $94,000. And as the fourth quarter of 2024, the total household debt in the United States reached an all-time record of $18 trillion. That is a lot of money. And the reason why I wanted to share that statistics is because I want you to know how much it is affecting us, not only emotionally, but the way that we build wealth, right? Which is why in this financial plan that you're building for yourself, I really want you to include a plan on how you're managing and paying off debt, right? There's good debt, there's bad debt, and then there's the true cost of debt. I want you to be intentional and aware on how much interest you are paying on the debt that you have, right? There's the high interest rates are killing us, honestly. And I want you to be very aware of that, because sometimes we're only paying the minimum payment on a credit card, and the longer that we wait to actually pay off that card, the more that we're paying, and the more that is hurting us. Right. And I want you to know that also high debt really affects our financial credibility. It hurts our credit score. And if you are planning to become an investor, if you're planning to build wealth, it's really not good to have a lot of bad debt. Oh, and that's like credit cards, for instance, right? Choosing a strategy when it comes to paying off debt. I want you to, when you are building this plan, I want you to assess, right, your current debt and assess the interest rates that you're paying at the moment and how much that is costing you, because it's really costing you a lot. What are the minimum payments? And if you're using a strategy, which you should be aware now after you did the self-assessment, and you need to reset and do something else and pivot from that, then look at the other different payoff strategies that are available out there, and try it out, right? Choose something that would help you create momentum. I want you to create momentum more than anything, because once you create momentum, you're going to continue doing things. And the last and most important thing, avoid any unnecessary debt, which is why having available cash liquid in a savings account or any other type of saving account that you have is good, because you will use that money instead of going to use a credit card to pay for anything unexpected. Lastly, I want to share how good it is for us to use AI. I know AI is something very recent. A lot of people are really not familiar in how to use it, but AI is a tool that we can use to empower us and help us in our wealth building journey. I love it because it gives personalized insights. So you can just be specific as you want, and it will create a budget based on your income and your expenses. It can help you create an actionable roadmap based on your goals. Like the plan that I'm telling you to create, it can help you create that. And it will give you data-driven strategies that you can use to pay off your debt, right? So I'll share with you some prompts that oh, it's frozen. Okay, so I'll share with you a few prompts that I enter in ChatGPT. One thing that I would say, the more specific that you are, the better, because it will give you a better output, so better information that you can implement. So this is like, if you want to take a screenshot of this so that you can have an idea of how to create a specific prompt for ChatGPT. Basically, I just said, I'm a single mom living in Pennsylvania, and this is my income. This is, some of my expenses. Like, just create a budget for me using one of the budgeting methods that I shared earlier, right? So this is the output that ChatGPT gave me. It gave me a chart breaking down my expenses based on the budgeting method that I wanted to use, between needs, wants, and savings and debt, right? The reason why I'm sharing this is because a lot of us are stuck and we don't know what to do. A lot of us think that we're doing the wrong thing. If you have any thoughts that are actually making you overwhelmed, that are making you feel stagnant, stuck, and you cannot move forward, use ChatGPT as a tool to help you move forward. Because again, what matters is the small steps that you continue to take forward. The next thing is asking ChatGPT how, which debt strategy is better for me, because again, I want to save money on the debt that I'm paying. I don't want to be paying too much interest. So this is another prompt that I said, I have credit card debt, I have a card loan. I share the interest rates for each of them and compare these two payoff strategies, and which one will save me basically more money in interest over time. And again, it gave me a chart breakdown comparing both both strategies. Now all I have to do is I have to look at this and I have to implement what works for me. You don't have to do whatever ChatGPT is telling you to do. I only need to take the information that best fits me and aligns with my values and my goals, and then I have to implement it and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then guess what? You're free and you have the will to just pivot, change it, adjust it. And oh Jesus, it's frozen again. Okay. And I always end all of my presentations with this statement: women who can master the money have more choices and louder voices. And I need you to really believe within yourself that you have the keys to build wealth. You have the keys to master your finances, to master your money. I only invite you to start taking action, to start taking that small step that is going to eventually take you there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and thank you to Prospanica for having me tonight and talking about this topic.
Wow, 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 wow. Jennifer, I am going to say, my background is also finance. And I will tell you, this has been one of the most complete, down to earth, broken down, a spot on presentation.
Thank you. I really appreciate
It was like a different perspective that I haven't seen, that I believe if everyone follows your 5 pillars, your emergency fund, your advice in understanding how, what money is and how to invest it, educating yourself, become literate in finance. I think a lot of people here will become, and I will add to your quote here, one thing, which is women who can master their money not only have more choices and louder voices, but can gain independence.
Yeah.
That's what I would put in there. I truly believe that when you are a woman who can be financially independent, there's nobody that can control you. It's just powerful.
Yes.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about is, establishing that emergency fund. I have heard about that before, but I don't think that everyone truly really either applies that concept, because only until they're in a situation. So I feel like it's important. It's really important that you have some money in the event that you need to stop working for whatever reason.
Yes. Yes.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important. I didn't touch basics specifically as to, like for instance, a lot of people are now becoming entrepreneurs. And sometimes they're not even aware that they should be setting an emergency fund, right? Because now you're self-employed, you really don't have unemployment benefits that your employer could probably provide, right? So that's why I say 6 to 12 months, because also as you are self-employed, the income fluctuates and the expenses fluctuate. So you should be taking that into account. And again, a lot of people don't have $1,000 to pay off cash for an emergency. And that keeps us in that cycle of being in debt and not getting out of debt. And then we are so off track, and that wealth that we want to build is so out of reach. But it's because we're not doing the basics. We're not doing what matters. We're not doing the foundation part of it. And it's just key.
Yeah. One thing that, and we're going to go to the live Q&A session. So I truly will invite everyone, if you have not, to post your questions on the live chat, because, we have you here, and I feel that they will benefit if they have any questions from your insight.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just, one of the questions that I believe I saw was, how can I create a sustainable budget that supports my financial goals? If you could just touch base on that real quick.
Yeah. Yes, when people think say sustainable, I think about something that works for me, that I'm gonna stick to it, something that doesn't feel forced. So the thing that I would say is just start where you are without thinking that you need to make any adjustments. Um, Keep everything the same. Just create the budget to see so that you can create a level of awareness of how money is moving in and out of your bank accounts. Once you do that, then you can start making adjustments. And again, I don't want you to make any drastic adjustments. The thing with people having a hard time sticking to a budget is because they feel forced, they feel restricted, and emotionally, internally, we don't like that. We don't like that. And that's why we actually stop budgeting. So, what I would suggest to you is just change one little thing. Again, I want you to first have that clarity on what your goals are, because you said something about a budget that supports your goals. I want you to be clear about those goals, and I want you to set them using the SMART acronym. And once you have that, start where you are right now on how things are moving in and out of your bank account, understand your cash flow, and maybe next month change one thing that doesn't feel forced. And after that, you can see that you're going to be able to build momentum with it. It's going to be like a ripple effect of change that you can create, right? Start more intentionally allocating money towards the things that will support those goals rather than spending it on things that don't. And I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah. Let me move to a question that is very appropriate, and I saw it on the chat
Mhm.
because of tax season. And the question is, are there any tax savings strategies that they should be aware of?
Yes, I mean there's many. I can't, because the question is very general, and tax strategies any tax saving strategies out there are very specific to the scenario of that person. But I would say generally, if you're an employee, you should be looking at retirement accounts that give you that are tax deferred. So basically, you can contribute to those retirement accounts, and it can give you a benefit when you file your taxes, right? Then the other thing that I would say, if you're self-employed, there's more strategies that you can implement, right? Again, I want to be a little bit vague about this because it's a very like broad question, and the strategies that someone can implement is based on their scenario and also their goals on how they're trying to save money.
I would say, personally, and again, it's applicable to, different people. As you said, different things apply. Like, one strategy is not claiming you're dependent all year, like, so you don't get hit if you make X amount of money. And then for me, I pay extra on taxes. So every month I contribute more than what I'm supposed to be contributing, so
Yes,
that.
that's a good, yes, that's definitely a good one. A lot of people, that's why it depends on the type of person you are, because a lot of people are not willing to do that. A lot of people are
Mhm.
not willing to pay more taxes up front. Like a lot of people are not aware that they can pay estimated taxes. If you are expected to have a liability, if you're expected to owe money to the IRS when you file, you can prepare for that by paying additional money every quarter in the tax year. So that's one
Yes.
thing that people can implement. Something that you said, like in the W-4, a lot of people are not aware that there's a proper way of filling that out so that when you file your taxes, you actually are paying the correct amount of taxes and you're not surprised by a tax bill. So
Yes.
yes, people are not aware of that. I actually experienced that a lot this year. With some of my clients, they're like, I have to pay taxes. And I'm like, I included 2 dependents on my W-4 and I don't have dependents. So people are really, again, the part of educating yourself is so important because you make decisions out of what other people are telling you and they're not even educated or experienced either. So you end up hurting yourself financially.
It's true, and I think that I'm telling you that's the key to everything. Educating yourself so that you're not surprised at the end of the year with your taxes.
Yes.
And one thing that I really appreciate you mentioned, like for your 401k, if you can, try to hit the max that they take out for you. Go
Correct.
bring it up to whatever percentage and try it because
Mm-hmm.
it's before taxes and it's money that you are saving for your
For
retirement,
your
so
own
it's worth
retirement,
it.
correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, we have about 5 minutes left. There are a few other questions, such as, who do you recommend for fraud alert? I don't know if you have a quick answer for that.
Okay, so for a fraud alert, you would have to call the credit bureau directly, and they can place, excuse me, they can place the alert on your actual credit. So you can call Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. And then, as far as you touched base on this, so you may have already answered this question about can you recommend a bank that has a high yield savings account? And
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
maybe.
so for banks, again, you should be doing your own research. There is many out there, but a few that I recommend are Marcus by Goldman Sachs. Then there's Capital One. Then there's SoFi, I think it's the name. I can't remember if that's how it's pronounced, but those are like the three that come to my mind right now. I think there's a few other ones that I can't remember from the top of my head, but those are, again, you should look for a savings account that have like around right now they're offering I think 3.88%. That's a good percentage. Lower than that, for instance, like Chase, it doesn't really has a high benefit of giving you money back from having a money on the savings account with them. It's very low. It's maybe like a cent or 2 cents for every, I don't know, $1,000 or something like that, which is not good.
Yeah, I think you need to consult with a financial advisor and look for other ways rather than putting your money on a like 1.5 interest or 3. There's other ways, and they're very liquid, meaning if you need the money, you could just get it. You
Yeah.
don't have to keep your money for like 10 years. So there's
Hmm.
other things that yield high return that you should be looking into.
Yeah.
Well, we have come to the end of our Entre Amigas webinar on how to gain wealth building, section 1. We want to thank you, Jennifer, for all the insights and the way that you position each one of them was amazing. I truly feel people are going to walk out of here with like a lot of like thoughts and start thinking, right? I wanted to also give a huge thank you to Prospanica National because they literally are the ones that support these webinars and make them happen. Also, again, Goya, who is our sponsor for this webinar. I want to just remind everyone that the second part of this building wealth with purpose is going to be hosted on April 16th. And I will recommend that we continue with the conversation now more than ever, based on what we see on the market and everything. You need to have a little understanding and just kind of protect yourself, so you're not caught by surprise with changes, right? Because of the impact in the market and the cost of living that is so high. Lastly, I wanted to just say that if you would like to become a member of Prospanica, and believe me, I'm a lifetime member and cannot begin to summarize the advantage that I have gained in my professional and personal, life and career from being a member. It's $120, and there is no bigger investment than investing in you and the opportunity to network with other professionals and obtain professional development and opportunities for employment that Prospanica offer. Huge, shout out to our Entre Amigas committee, also our CEO, Tomas Sabino, who is truly the biggest supporters of everything that we're doing here. Thank you, everyone. And again, I hope that you have walked out of here with a lot of insight and apply those to your life. See you soon. See you on April 16th. Thank you, everyone.